She's not your typical take over the world villain. No, June's obsessions run much deeper. They're personal, they're scientific, and they're absolutely terrifying. Picture this: a brilliant post-grad researcher at a New York university. Nights spent alone watching DVD box sets. Not exactly villain origin material, right? But then she met Edward Wynne, a brilliant biologist who was perfect in almost every way. Almost. He had one slight birth defect in his left arm, and something in June changed. She became obsessed with fixing genetic imperfections, with creating perfection where nature had failed. A noble goal, perhaps, but her methods? Those were anything but noble. After countless experiments, even testing on herself, she believed she'd cracked the code to perfect human genetics. But when she offered this gift to Edward, he was horrified. He rejected her work and turned her over to campus police. Most people would take this as a sign to reconsider their life choices. June? She plotted revenge. Claiming she'd changed her ways, she lured Edward back to her old lab. But instead of redemption, she injected him with a paralyzing agent, sealed the lab, and left him to die. And this was just the beginning. How do you go from rejected scientist to supervillain? For June, it was a short, bloody path. Before long, she'd murdered 18 people by inducing, and I'm not making this up, explosive cranial failure at a prayer meeting for special needs children. Let that sink in. This wasn't just evil. This was calculated cruelty. This was someone who saw human beings as nothing more than test subjects. Her actions earned her a cell in the Special Containment Center, a supermax underwater prison for the world's most dangerous psychopaths. Her neighbors? A demonic entity, an alien, a ghostly assassin, and a South American spider god. Oh, and a certain Norman Osborn, fresh off his defeat during the Siege of Asgard. But people like June don't stay contained for long. When Norman Osborn escaped and decided to form a new team of Dark Avengers, who do you think he recruited as his Scarlet Witch? That's right, our biochemical horror show, Toxie Doxie. The two didn't just become teammates, they became lovers, united in their twisted vision for the world. With the Dark Avengers, June fought against Doctor Strange and the New Avengers. While she may not have had Wanda Maximoff's reality-warping powers, her poisonous breath and mind control abilities made her a formidable opponent. But, as is often the case with villain team-ups, the Dark Avengers' lack of actual teamwork led to their downfall. They were captured and incarcerated, though that wouldn't last long. What's more dangerous than a murderous biochemist? A murderous biochemist in a parallel universe with no rules. When the Dark Avengers found themselves transported to an alternate Earth, June didn't waste time. She quickly took control of that world's Hank Pym, forcing him to serve her and gathering knowledge about this new universe. This world was different, torn apart by superhuman faction wars. Iron Man, Doctor Strange, Spider-Man, all territorial warlords rather than heroes. And June? She thrived in the chaos. With her scientific knowledge and ruthless nature, she helped her team navigate this broken world, even restoring US agents' missing limbs and manipulating the miniaturized Venom symbiote. But parallel worlds have parallel problems, and eventually the Dark Avengers found their way back to our reality, with June potentially more dangerous than ever. Just when the Marvel Universe thought it had seen the worst of June Covington, the Terrigen Mist changed everything. You see, when the Inhuman King Black Bolt detonated the Terrigen bomb, he unleashed a transformative mist across the globe. For most people, it did nothing. But for those with dormant Inhuman genes, it triggered metamorphosis, a cocoon stage followed by emergence with unpredictable powers. June, ever the opportunist, saw not a humanitarian crisis, but a genetic gold rush. Her target? A social studies teacher named Richard Schlickeisen, a seemingly ordinary man until the Terrigen Mist revealed his heritage. As he cocooned, the first stage of inhuman transformation, something extraordinary happened. Even while encased, his new powers were activating: invisibility to machines, Medical equipment couldn't detect him. Scanners passed through him as if he wasn't there. The hospital declared him dead inside his cocoon. Fatal mistake. Because that's when June entered the picture. Through a Salvadorian arms dealer specifically instructed to contact her, she acquired Schlickheisen's cocoon, spending every penny she had. But science is never without risk. Cocoon exploded in her laboratory, injuring June, her assistant Gail, and the freshly emerged Schlickheisen. Most would retreat, lick their wounds. June? She grabbed the disoriented new Inhuman and disappeared. At Hemoglobal Laboratories, she did what she does best. She dissected, analyzed, and experimented. Her focus was singular: isolate the gene that granted Schlickheisen his unique powers. And she succeeded. Then came the moment that makes June Covington truly terrifying. She injected herself with his Inhuman DNA. This wasn't just mad science. This was evolution by force, natural selection at gunpoint. June didn't want to study Inhuman powers. She wanted them for herself. The Avengers, alerted by Spider-Girl, whose teacher Schlickheisen was, launched a rescue mission. But they weren't just facing June Covington anymore. They were facing June Covington with inhuman abilities. After fighting AIM and navigating June's traps, it finally fell to Spider-Girl herself to take down the enhanced Toxie Doxie, a student avenging her teacher against one of Marvel's most dangerous biochemists. But that still wasn't the end of June's story. In one of the strangest chapters of her criminal career, June partnered with another villain named Grace Valentine. Together, they captured one of the most powerful Avengers, Captain Marvel herself. Their plan? To replicate her cosmic powers. They selected a random man as their test subject, strapping him to a lab table as they prepared to extract and transfer Carol Danvers' energy signature. What they didn't know was that their random test subject was actually Santa Claus. Yes, you heard that correctly. The actual Santa Claus. Between Captain Marvel breaking free and Santa revealing his true identity, June Covington's holiday scheme quickly unraveled. Both villainesses were defeated and transported to Project Pegasus for containment, a facility designed to study and hold superhuman threats. For those of you who enjoy Marvel Snap, you might have encountered Toxie Doxie. But does her in-game ability truly capture the essence of this complex villain? In Marvel Snap, Toxie Doxie's current ability reads, on reveal, give 2 cards in your hand plus 2 power. You can't play them next turn. This represents her as someone who can enhance others, but with a significant drawback, much like her genetic improvements that often come with horrifying side effects. I can't help but feel this ability misses the mark on what makes Toxie Doxie truly unique. Think about it. June's primary abilities revolve around toxins, genetic manipulation, and biological weapons. She's not just enhancing others, she's poisoning, infecting, and transforming them to serve her own ends. But there's another approach that I think truly captures her essence as a villain. To lean into her signature neurotoxins and mind control abilities, Toxie Doxie could instead target her opponent directly. On reveal, choose 2 cards in your opponent's hand. They lose 2 power and cannot be played next turn. This redesign transforms her from someone who buffs her own side, which doesn't align with her villainous nature, into someone who directly attacks her enemies with debilitating toxins. It gives her card a much more sinister feel that aligns perfectly with her comic book portrayal as someone who specializes in crippling her opponents through biological warfare. Thank you for taking this journey with me. Who do you want me to cover next? Let me know in the comments. Until next time.